Diary of a Mid-30s Girlie.
Starts right now.
Hello. I am so excited. Welcome to the first ever episode of Diaries of a Mid-30s Girlie, the podcast for the last bitch in her friend group to get her shit together. I am your host, Danielle, queen of the Mid-30s Girlies, and welcome. Just to get things started, why this podcast exists. Obviously, if you're new here, you have no expectations except to hear about Mid-30s Girlies. Love that. But I do want to reassure anyone who is subscribed who might be afraid that I'm not doing regular YouTube videos anymore. That is not the case. I have just noticed I put way too much pressure on myself when I'm just doing a regular video. It's kind of bizarre, but because I put so much pressure on myself around it, it ends up taking me a month to put out the next video. It takes me a month to edit them, and it's really hindered me. It's really kept me from being consistent. So I just kind of had this epiphany last week. I think I need to lower the stakes. And it's not that podcasting in and of itself is just easier, because I do think that being able to talk for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours straight and just have an audience on the edge of their seat, I am not naturally a Father Cooper. I am not an Emma, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't have all the intense editing. And I just think that that's going to be good for me. And you know why? Because the other thing that I've noticed, and my absolute favorite thing about this community we've been building, is that you guys are so active in my comments. I live for it. I love talking to you. But you'll have video requests that I haven't fulfilled because I put so much pressure upon doing the perfect video to answer your request, that the information that you would have got if I did just put out that video, you never end up getting it. I am so behind on your guys' list of requests, and that upsets me. And then the other thing, a lot of the questions you'll have will be something that I talked about while filming the related video, but then I ended up having to cut it out because of retention editing and just feeling like I'm beating a dead horse and talking in circles. Something someone said to me in one of my comments last week was that it felt that my videos to them felt like having a big sister on YouTube to kind of help them along. And I want to have that vibe, but to the nth degree with this podcast, where it just feels like we're just hanging out, just getting to talk without me having to pop in, you know what I mean? And do the fucking most. So anyway, going back to the title of this podcast, Diary of a Mid-30s Girlie, the inspo came from, this is embarrassing because I know I'm gonna up and just show I'm not with it, but I saw some kind of trend of women referring to themselves as 25-year-old teenagers, or and so that's kind of, I was that is me. I'm 33, about to be 34 in just a few short weeks, and I just don't have, I'm not where society probably wants me to be. And even though there's a part of me that's yeah, I'm cool with that, I'm doing my own thing, sometimes it sucks. I am married, but that's just about the only adultish thing that I have going on in my life. Gabe and I do not have kids. We don't have a house. It's body not giving what I want it to give. The apartment I live in, not giving it what I want it to give. Illustrious career, where? Those of you that are already subscribed to me probably found me through the Google Calendar video. Great productivity system. Still use it. Just want to make that clear. But last year I was thinking sometimes I'm in the mood to handwrite things. And just for those days where I want to brain dump with pen and paper and kind of plan in a very physical, tangible way, let me just get a physical planner. And this particular planner had a little section at the front where they try to really help you break down your goals. And it started with a survey of how happy are you with this area of life and this area of life and da 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 da. And there was 10 different areas. And I have known that I felt like a mess. I think I've talked about in other videos before how the feeling of needing to get my shit together is an ever-present ongoing thing. But it wasn't until I did the little rate yourself. I basically realized after filling it out that almost every area of my life was a 4 out of 10. And I was just I need to do something about this. trying to figure out if my husband and I want to stay in Los Angeles. I should be having the time of my life, but I'm not. Probably because I don't have any friends out here. I mean, there are a few reasons why I don't know if this is the place for us. But a huge one is, I'm sure my sister lives in Vegas. One of my best friends lives in Kansas City. The other best friend lives in New York City. The other best friend lives in Germany. And so it's just like, I still have great relationships with all of them. But as far as, do I have any bitch to go to brunch with on a Saturday morning? No, I do not. And I feel like my husband being the only friend that I've had for like the last, since we moved here, is just, yeah, I don't know. You need to bring your own life to a relationship, and that stays true even after you're married. I'm learning. So let's get to the juice, the meat of this episode. The fact that the day this podcast is going up is February 1st. And I still have not done my like yearly reset. Honestly, even if I were to reset my entire life like right now, which like not possible, but like could you even call it a New Year's reset anymore? Like when you're squarely into February? I don't know. I don't know if you can. It just made me think I cannot be the only one. There's no way. I knew that logically anyway. But on another level, it didn't feel like it, because back in December, my entire YouTube feed was like, reset your life now so you can be her by 2024, or like 24 habits to start by 2024 so you can be that bitch. Like, you know, and I just, don't get me wrong. I am a sucker for that kind of content. Like it's right up my alley. I've recognized relatively recently that I never will be that girl, but I just keep watching that content anyway. There's like a part of me that knows I'll never be her, and then there's like another part of me that's like still holding out hope that like if I watch enough productivity YouTube videos. Anyway, I just remember seeing all that stuff pop up on my feed and being like, I don't know, man, because I've done all that before. Like I've tried to go hard starting January 1st. And somehow I've had the same resolutions for the last like 15 years, you know what I mean? So clearly we need to change things up. So I started feeling that way. And then I even I didn't put out, I filmed, but then hated it, so never edited it, and then I can't talk right now, I hated it, so I never edited it, I never refilmed it, and then by the time I could have refilmed it, it's no longer seemed relevant. But since tomorrow's February 1st and I still haven't done it, now it seems very relevant. Anyway, sorry. What I was trying to say is I tried to put out a video in December being like, you don't have to do all that. You do not have to do the most. You do not have to be a brand new by 2024. Use December how I intend to use it. I didn't end up following through with this, by the way. So this is a judgment-free zone. I just want to make that abundantly clear. But I had this idea that I would use December to let certain aspects of my life die, and then I would use December to declutter all those aspects that had died. A lot of D's. We do love the letter D in this community. Not a euphemism, by the way. Where was I going with this? Yeah, that was my intention anyway. But then like the start of December, I had just moved into this apartment. We didn't have any time to put it together before we left the last week of November to go stay with my parents for a week at their timeshare in Mexico. So we came back to an absolute mess. Then it was like final season for my husband, who was going to school full time and who had a full-time job at the same time. I mean, he still has a full-time job, but he's not in school at this exact moment. We left the week of Christmas to go spend it with his family in North Carolina. We're gone all that time. As soon as I got back, I got that horrible flu that I was telling you about a few minutes ago. And so it just felt like December was a disaster, honestly. In January, I tried to make a new version of that video where I was like, oh, if you didn't get it all done in December, like, let's do it now that it's like early January. It's okay. You don't have to abide by like January 1st, but it's still the first week of January. So let's do it. And then like one day I was going to film a video where I tried to declutter everything in my house in under 5 hours. And it just made me realize, like, have you learned nothing? Have you learned nothing? You have ADHD. You cannot put this immense pressure on yourself to do these things, especially in the dead of winter. Can we talk about that actually for a second? I'd like to go on a not fully relevant, but like somewhat related tangent. Can we just say that January 1st is actually bullshit? Like, yes, I love to capitalize on the energy of a new year, but technically it's not really the new year. I mean, okay, yes, it is. But like the Gregorian calendar, is that what it's called? As a whole is baloney. There's even like a conspiracy theory that it was invented whenever it was as a means to get the common folk kind of like out of sync with the natural rhythms of the universe. And like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And like, it's so true. Why is January 1st the new year when it's the dead of winter and the earth really starts anew? Springtime. In spring. That's when things come alive. That's when, there's a, like, right? Like, spring cleaning is a saying that's been around who knows how long, at least as long as I've been alive. Spring cleaning was like the OG weekly reset. You know what I'm saying? That was right? That's when people like to declutter and all that. So like, why do we suddenly have to do it on January 1st? It's just so funny to me because like those of us who listen to Daddy Huberman especially are so about like getting sunlight in our eyes first thing in the morning to like reset our circadian rhythms and like cycle syncing so that we are most productive while we're ovulating and then we rest when in the menstruation phase. Like it's just, we do all this stuff and then we let the frickin' a random day of the year, a random day in the dead of winter, like dictate so much of like what we do and how we feel about ourselves with regards to what we're doing. I'm over it. I am well and truly over it. And making my way back to the main path here. That day I tried to declutter everything in my apartment now in 5 hours. Horrible idea because I didn't do shit. I think I started on the bookshelf and then I ended up getting like super distracted and like rereading books as I was deciding whether or not I wanted to get rid of them. Common ADHD thing, right? Oh, in addition to that, I also like before I even got started on that, I was constantly delaying because the pressure of doing so much in such a short amount of time, it's not ADHD friendly, man. It's like, I remember hearing about this tool that is ADHD friendly where you like set a timer for 10 minutes and see how much tidying you can get done in that time. Or like, I don't know. You're in the middle of writing a novel and you're like, I'm just going to sit down and write it, just get everything I can get out for 30 minutes. Like that is helpful. I'm kind of afraid to bring this up because I don't want it to be taken as like disrespect. It's certainly not. If anything, it comes from, let me just, no disclaimers. If you're a productivity girly, you have for sure heard of Cal Newport and this book he wrote about the concept of deep work, which is like the most productive thing you can do is like block off like 3 hours of your time, let's say, and like not get distracted. And I get it and I respect it. But what business does a frazzled mess like me have trying to be Cal Newport? You know what I'm saying? This took me so long to like. I would think, oh, like every day I'm going to block off 3 hours to work on my YouTube channel and that's how I'm going to be consistent. Bitch, what? You can barely sit down for 10 minutes to work on your YouTube channel. What do you mean? And I've realized that it's like, okay, yeah, it's like the ADHD and like the fidgetiness. Like I'm kind of feeling it a little bit right now, but I'm going to rock through it because I think I'm kind of on a roll. You let me know. But it's like Cal Newport is offering advice for other people that are in his league, the titans of industry, the motherfuckers who are already running a tight ship and just looking for that extra thing to push them over the edge. He's like, hey, I know you got like a lot of shit, but you cannot afford to. That's not me. And in fact, trying to be like someone who's like that creates such a negative emotional charge. If you tell me I have to sit down and do 3 hours of anything, it could be something I love, I'd be like, what? And it would just make me not want to do it. So the fact that I not only was like 5 hours, because I also had this idea of like, well, if I only have 5 hours, that means for 5 hours I cannot stop. I cannot take a break. I have to get through this whole house. Why would I do this to myself? But I've realized that I do this to myself in a lot of areas of life, man. And actually, the most helpful thing I've discovered relatively recently actually is I didn't invent this, but for some reason it wasn't until I started thinking about it in a different, like, specific way that it started being helpful for me. But the idea of, as opposed to Cal Newport's deep work, shallow work, motherfucker. I am a huge proponent of shallow work now because there's just no pressure. It goes from being like, oh, I need to have 3 hours of deep intent. First of all, the thought of having to sit down for 3 hours, crazy. Many of us can't even find 3 consecutive hours. And just, yeah, like that pressure. Whereas it's like, I've got 10 minutes until I have to like leave for this. And like, I'm not really doing anything. So instead of scrolling social media, let me just like see if I can do a few edits on whatever. Or like, oh, I'm at work. I'm closing up for the night. I've already done all my things, but there's still 20 minutes left on the shift. Let me do a little bit here. And like, actually, I feel like I get so much more done in less time because there's just no pressure. There is no negative emotional charge making me go, oh, like I don't want to do that, you know? So yeah, is it the most optimized routine? The neurotypical experts say no. I'm not swimming in that end of the pool. I am in the shallow end of the pool. Shallow work it is for me. I kind of think that that's how we have to go about like decluttering and resetting our lives, especially if you're in the same boat as me where like, yeah, still haven't gotten my life together like for the new year like I should have, and it's already February. I'm going to continue to get my life together one little drawer at a time, one little to-do list at a time. Would a grand sweeping, not gesture, but like would a grand reset like make everything feel so much better? Of course it would. Is it feasible for someone like me? No. So I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take little bits and bobs and moments and let me get rid of this. Now, let me tell you, this is night and day from how I used to be. I used to be such an all or nothing thinker, but that is one of the things that I am decluttering as part of this life reset. All or nothing thinking, man, that will fuck you, let me tell you. Interestingly enough, these short little sprints are like some of the best way for me to get anything done. Like, first of all, there's a meme I saw a few years ago about how like, oh, I get more cleaning done in the 10 minutes before someone comes over than I do all week. Like, valid. You know when it is another time where I feel like these short little sprints were so helpful? Back when I was in college, I always procrastinated writing those, you know, the very intense big essays or whatever. I always waited to the last minute. So last minute that usually it would get to the point where something was like due tomorrow and I needed every spare minute. So I would be writing a part of that essay on my phone as I'm like waiting for the train or as I'm like riding a bus and then waiting to transfer to the next thing. Like, and interestingly enough, I think it has something to do with the fact that like I wasn't sitting at my desk like, okay, type this out, where I'm just like sitting there like, la, la, la. Let me just, you know, not word vomit, but like brain dump notes on here. And I'd actually get a lot out. And then it would be easier when I already had something to go back and refine it. And this is actually the way that I'm approaching a lot of things these days. I was going to talk about this in another episode, probably more in depth, but I am a voice feature bit now because something that I've noticed I can do is I can just be like, make a note. And then usually because I'm wearing these like 99% of my life, I will just start like talking. And it could be like a grocery list, a to-do list, an idea for a snippet in a video or on this podcast even. And I'll just kind of write it like that and then make sure it's in my notes and then go back and refine it. Super helpful. Very helpful tip. You can have a new beginning anytime you want. I love a new beginning, actually. I love burning everything to the ground and starting over. I feel like I'm in a phase like that now, but it's like a slow burn. Like the way I've been getting rid of so many things. I've said this before. I don't love minimalism aesthetically. Like, it's a little boring. But my brain is such a chaotic place that I need my external environment to be peaceful. It just makes life easier for me. Related, unrelated, I am a digital maximalist though. Like, I love like doing the most in like digital spaces. Speaking of not being able for to do shit whenever, also, I've been working on a digital planner. I have wanted to make one for a really long time, and for some reason, it wasn't until December 27th that I was like, I'm gonna make a digital planner. I'm fucking doing it. I do not care. I had no idea the roadblocks and like technical difficulties I would run into based on the programs that I'm using, but I'm pretty much done with it. And I'm thinking about selling it for just a few dollars. I love it so much. You will see. I thought about it because it's such a maximalist, like Y2K vibe almost. A collage vibe, which I just love, like resonates with me deeply in my soul. Where was I going with this? Why did I think about this? I don't know. Oh, digital maximalist, but also you can do shit whenever you want to. I'm going to be launching it soon. I'm going to be launching it in February. Which, like, the audacity to release a 2024 planner in February when most people do it, like, did theirs back in 2023. But, you know, let me know if have any interest in seeing that. I wanted to kind of talk about some of the things that I'm continuing to do as part of my reset, decluttering my physical spaces, you know, revamping my productivity systems, including my Notion, clearing out, you know, I have 497 Safari tabs open. So clearing out stuff like that. Decluttering distractions, decluttering inflammatory things off of my diet. You know, there's a lot. But to be honest, I don't feel like talking much longer, so I think I'm just going to leave that pinned in the comments. And speaking of the comments, if you're new here, I do respond to every single comment. I love talking to you guys. I know I said what I said in the beginning about like, oh, I wasn't saying that to say like, don't be in my comments. I want you guys in my comments. I just, wanted you to be able to not feel like you had to ask me because you get what I'm saying? So yeah, I respond to every comment. If you have a question, if you have a suggestion for this podcast, like build it with me. I would love that. Like if you want a recurring segment, if you just want to hear like a one-time theme, let me know. I love you so much and I will see you in the comment section.